Hi, my name is Dennis Siri. I am the Executive Director and founder of the New York City Independent Film Festival, Independent in Spirit, International at Heart, and this is the New York City Independent Film Festival Meet the Filmmakers podcast. Join us while we meet this year's filmmakers. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello, welcome to this episode, and today we have the crew and cast for Missing Her. Please introduce yourselves.
My name is Lena Josephine Marano, and I am one of the actors in the short film Missing Her.
Hi, I'm Mike Gerbi, executive producer, a writer, and actor for Missing Her.
And my name is Karl Shefelman. I am the director for Missing Her.
And I'm Leland Krane. I'm the director of photography for Missing Her.
Okay. Welcome, and thank you all for being here. All right, so, I'll ask the questions. You guys can answer them in any order you want. It's supposed to be a conversation. So what made everybody decide to be a filmmaker? What was that moment, or was it a lifelong dream, or what? Anybody?
For me, it was seeing the movie Taxi Driver by Scorsese. And then I piddled around and beat around the bush for a while. Finally decided to go to film school at NYU way back when it was much cheaper. I wouldn't recommend it now. And made an award-winning short film, got swept out to LA, Hollywood, screened it for the DGA, but I was quite young, immature, and I met with Imagine, all sorts of people, but I didn't have other material, so it kind of went away. So now I'm back in New York. I'm a storyboard artist as a day job, and I'm just making up for lost time writing and directing films, and happy to direct other people's scripts as I did for Mike. It was quite a pleasure.
There's Jenn.
There's Jenn.
Sorry, guys.
We're
No
doing
worries.
All right.
We're doing an introduction of Hyde, your 2-minute elevator pitch. So right now we're up to Mike. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah.
Since he brought you up.
So, I've been an actor for quite a while, and trained mostly in theater. So what made me want to become a filmmaker was, it wasn't really by a choice. The pandemic hit, and there's no work. So it's like, what do I do? And never really written before, never really made films before, like seriously. And so I just said, you know what, I got to do something. I have to do something. And so I started writing, and then got a script together, and then I found some really good people to help me put it together. So this is my first short film. So now I guess I've got to do more. So
Okay. Leland, do you want to go next?
So the capsule summary is I was studying writing and got out of college with this degree in creative writing, and started writing plays, and was very frustrated with the whole experience. I went to see the movie Hearts of Darkness. I'd always loved movies and studied a little bit, but then I saw like the control and passion that those filmmakers had, and decided I think this is something that I can do, and just pounded the pavement, got a job on a little indie movie, and took it from there, and just kept working my way up the ladder until I was shooting. And that's what I've been doing for 30 years.
Okay, great. All right, Lena, go ahead. You're up, Lena.
Okay, so I've always been acting ever since I was younger. I love to perform for my family. And I started out with theater, and then once I got into my acting school, I just went from there, and I've always loved to do it. And then I auditioned for my agency and my management, and once I got in, I became a professional actor, and I've always just loved it.
Great, cool. And Miss Joyce? Jenn, sorry, Jenn.
I am also an actor, even though I acted as a producer on this film. I do a little bit of both, but acting mostly. And producing is kind of my industry side hustle, I'll say. I grew up acting. I went to school for acting, and then I'm from Chicago originally, and I moved to New York to do film and television. And so I've been doing that pretty steadily ever since, and working in a lot of independent films, features and shorts, and yeah, and I produce whenever my schedule allows.
Okay, great. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to this. I guess the next question is usually what I do. We'll see how this works out, but what did family and friends first say when you said, okay, I'm going to become a filmmaker? Was it, what are you crazy? Go get a real job? What were you, or like good, we're behind you 100% of the way? I guess we'll start with Karl, Carrie? Yeah, Karl.
Carl. Well, I had artist academic parents, so they didn't have any business telling me to get a real job. So they're very encouraging. They're like, yeah, anything you do, Carl, is fine with us. I mean, I rebelled against them in college by going pre-med, and soon realized I'm this is not for me. And so I became an art major, and then I dabbled in different disciplines after that, including architecture, which my dad is, who taught me how to draw. And then I was like, no, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to deal in fantasy. And so then I went to film school. But they were all supportive. I don't have the classic, story of an artist who rebelled against their more serious parents. So
What's funny is you guys are at the 12th, 14th podcast I'm doing this year. And so far, everybody has been, oh no, my parents were 100% behind me. So I guess it's a new age. Anyway.
yeah, that's a myth anyway that, people
I
are.
guess, yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds good, like
Yeah,
I did against all odds.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead, right? How about you?
Well, I started late. So, my parents were always, get a job,
Mhm.
get an education, and then focus on whatever you want to do. That's what they kept pounding into my head. And I actually listened. So, but anyways, yeah, I started late, and I didn't really tell anybody. When I got into acting, I really didn't, say, hey, I'm going to do this. I just did it, and I had fun, and then all of a sudden I got into a play, or I got into a short film, and then I would tell people about it, and they were like, whoa, wow, that's surprising. Didn't expect that. And then especially with the movie too, I didn't really say a whole lot with the movie, or the short film here. We just grinded it out, and once we got it done, I was like, hey, did a short film, and when everybody watched it, they were like, really? So yeah, I was pretty quiet about that.
Cool. All right, you have time before the kids come down for the slopes?
Yeah, they haven't showed up yet. So yeah, there's a couple of formative moments, I guess. My dad was a writer, and he was a freelancer as well, but he was kind of a newspaper man, writer, editor. And he told me this story about when he was in the Korean War, trained as a tank commander. And one night, sergeant came in and said, hey, can anybody type? And he had gone to school for journalism. So he said, yeah, I can type. So he sat out the war on a desk, and his whole platoon got completely wiped out. It was that story that made me think maybe art is okay. And the second one is one of the first directors of photography that I worked with when I was a gaffer was Rick Robinson. He was he shot Coming to America. He was the A operator on that, and he had been in another war, in the Vietnam War, and he had a camera on his shoulder when a grenade went off just over here, like right next to him, and it blew the magazine of the camera off, but the camera saved his life.
Right.
And hearing that also like made me think, well, art can save your life in some way. And that said, well, it meant something in some abstract way. So yeah.
Cool. And Lena, I guess you went to school, so I guess the parents have been pretty supportive. But anyway, tell us.
So my parents have always been pretty supportive of me. Again, ever since I was younger, I always liked to perform for my family and friends, and they've always supported me on the way. So they've never told me to get another job as a 7-year-old. So
No?
But you still have to study, right, Lena? You
Right.
still have to do
Oh,
your
yeah.
Get
homework.
your A's. I know
Yeah.
you have to get your A's because that's what my kids have to do anyway.
Yeah.
And I guess you're up.
You know, where I grew up, performing arts was a pretty big deal in our community. And so my parents saw early on that I had a very huge passion for it. And, you know, so did all of my friends. Like we just ate, slept, and breathed it. And so they were really supportive of it. I think when I went to college for it, they were like, well, that's good, but maybe you should have a backup plan or a minor. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. This is it. There's no plan B. Like it's this or nothing. And so here we are. I'm still doing it. And so I think that they're, you know, maybe in the back of their minds, they're still going, but is it a good living? But it is what it is. And
It
it's
is.
art above that. So I'm, you know, in it for the long haul.
Good. All right, cool. All right. So I guess everybody, my next usual question is, because I talk to people all over the world, is do you have a group of friends, filmmaker friends, your tribe that you're surrounded with? But I think here is almost your tribe. But anyway, I'll let anybody answer that one. So you have a group of go to your tribe of filmmakers, your filmmaker tribe. Carl?
I would say that's certainly easier when you're in your 20s and no one's working anyway. So, you know, everybody's happy to help out with a film, but as you get older, everybody's, you know, got to make money, and it becomes harder. But I think, I mean, certainly in New York, I think it's a little more lends itself to the indie sort of, you know, working with each other than maybe LA. I don't know, but yeah, you know, I have people I've worked with and I want to work with them again. I mean, Leland and I are actually developing a feature film right now. And you know, we're hoping to get that going. But yeah, and then I'm writing a script with an old college buddy whose son is a struggling actor in LA and driving Uber, and he just hit 30 and he's miserable, but he has all these stories. So we wrote a TV pilot based on that. But you can find your little group, yes, and we are a group.
Mike?
Well, yeah, you know, I'm just starting to form my group, so to speak. Mainly my group came from, you know, the actor friends that I've had since you know, I've been living here in New York for about 4 years. So funny enough, there's at least 6 or 7 people that I went to school with, I graduated with, that actually live here in New York, or New Jersey, New York, New Jersey area. So we get together, and it's more, since we're actors, obviously it kind of it's more broad. So it's not just filmmaking, but it could be plays, it could be just readings, or you know, anything
Creative.
acting wise. Yeah. So yeah, so like I you know, I've acted with someone a couple of years ago in Titus Andronicus, and me and her are going to be trying to get a short film together, you know. I'm doing some other writing myself, and so yeah, it's starting to grow now, especially with this short film. Obviously, that we had a pretty good crew, and so now I actually know people in the film industry. So yeah.
Okay. Leland, you still have time.
Yeah, I do. They haven't showed up. So yeah, we have a very nice tight-knit group of cinematographers, DPs, directors, camera operators, gaffers, grips in New York that is pretty well established. We all work in various levels. We do bigger shows, we do smaller projects. And so we have a real supportive community, and actually Facebook has helped a lot keep people in touch with each other and network, and that community has grown to New York and LA for a lot of indie people, and it really is a great tool actually to give each other ideas, technical notes, you know, new equipment. We have a good community, so I think that's fortunate for us. Being in the union helps also. That's automatically a community of people that meet regularly. So yeah.
Okay, good. And Lena, I guess you're through school, but good.
So, like Mike, I always think that having acting friends is a big part of finding your community. My acting friends from my acting school, I find them really helpful in every creative way. For example, if like there's an audition and you want to see how everything runs, if you do it one way or you want to do it another way, or maybe in film directing, you want to see how a short film or a feature film plays out, and you need acting friends to see how it goes.
Okay. And last but not least, Jen.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. When I started doing film, I joined this group of people that were doing like 48-hour film challenges. And so it was sort of a, trial by fire, kind of like figure out how to make a film like really fast. And so we all sort of just kept working on each other's projects, and we formed a pretty tight-knit group. And then, from there, it's like then you add a person and you add a person and it grows. And eventually, yeah, we just kind of formed this tribe. And I work begets work. And so the more you work with people, the greater your network becomes. And then, hopefully you can just keep working from there. But, you do have that, you'll always have that, no matter how big your network gets, you have that core group of people that are, your
Right.
tribe, like you're saying. And those people, I can just go to for anything. And we just always keep each other working and going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And in general, just say what you want about Facebook and social media, but if it weren't for Facebook, I never would have met Mike, because he posted on a Facebook indie New York filmmaker group that he was looking for crew and director. And so that's how this happened.
I agree. The power of social media is a big.
It has its pros and cons. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Especially for people in our industry, because, like we work on word of mouth a lot of times. So it's having those connections and making those connections through social media is important.
Okay. I guess this goes back to, I don't know, did I ask you this already, Mike? What made you decide to write this movie, this particular movie, make this movie?
No, not yet. So I mean, part of it was the pandemic, the frustration of not working, and so this particular movie came from a character that just popped in my head, and it really had to deal with, someone that I had lost back in 2017. And this character was just so unique. And so from that, I basically just started writing. And so that's pretty much how it developed.
Okay, cool. I guess to everybody, we'll start with Karl. What was the hardest part of this particular project?
Oh boy. Well, finding the one particular location we needed, which is a really hard location to find, and that's somebody's house that you can shoot in. And we had another producer before that didn't make that happen. So Jenn came on very late, but before Jenn came on, I ended up finding this house because I knew how hard it was and how it needed to look. And so I went to the New Jersey Film Commission, and they sent me a link for this house. Now, this house, everybody's laughing, was owned by this guy, and it was his first time having a film crew. So I would say shooting in that house was our biggest challenge, because he didn't quite realize what he had gotten into, and we had some conflicts. So I'm sure everybody can second that, except Lena. She wasn't there. She was only in the beach scene, so she just got to enjoy the beach. Now, shooting on that beach was
locked out.
shooting on the beach was great.
Nice.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was perfect. We had a few fishermen in the scene because it was supposed to be pretty empty, but other than that, it was free, right, Mike? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that location was a pleasure. You just got to deal with wind and the sound and stuff.
Can I piggyback on that really quick though? Because I want to give a shout out here, because that house, that we would never have completed that day had it not been for you guys planning so meticulously. Like, huge shout out to Karl and Leland and the crew, because they had an immense amount of work to get done because we only had that location that one day. And it was Karl directing and storyboarding, and Leland and the crew, like, because it is visually stunning. This film is visually stunning. The whole thing is beautiful, but like, really kudos to you guys, because like, with everything that happened, with the drama that ensued at that location with the homeowner, it would have never happened had you
Yeah.
guys.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
What was it like? What, like 26 setups?
26 setups each day, or 25. And I mean, it's because I'm a
was ambitious.
storyboard artist, and I'm a formalist about shooting film. I like it to be cinematic. But I plan every shot, because I don't want to get to the set and not be able to work with the actors. Because to me, it's half working with the actors, and it's the other half is how you use the camera, how you cover the film. And so I had it all storyboarded, and Leland and I were on the same page. Leland had some great ideas too. Leland is also at least two of the creative triangle. He is fast and good. And we all know what the third category is. But anyway, so yeah, I like to really plan it out. And then you know, if you get there and you want to do something more spontaneous, that's fine. But I'm a hardcore plan it out ahead of time. But thank you.
I just
for
want
that.
to, let me jump in. Honestly, this shoot was a real pleasure for me, because I think that when I got approached by Mike for the very beginning, Mike was smart enough to know that he had to hire good people in every position and let them do their jobs. And, you know, that's really what made this possible, because of the extreme planning. I wasn't even available to scout the location because I was on another job, but my gaffer did. But because the planning was so immaculate, we were able to accomplish a lot more. And I was able, for, you know, very few times that I'm able to do this, to walk in and not have to worry about what the shots are. We had that set, and Karl, having so planned it and storyboarded everything, let me focus on the finer details of lighting, camera movement, composition, placement, the things that I often don't have the time to do because we're still figuring out what the hell we're doing. Yeah, it was a real pleasure from my perspective. And I didn't get involved in any of the drama. I know there was some drama that went on, but we just did our job.
Your
and then we
gaffer
got out of
did.
there. My gaffer did, I think, yeah, but I didn't
Your
get
gaffer almost
involved.
got punched out. Yeah,
Yeah.
But he handled it so
did.
well.
he was the sweetest guy. You know, couldn't have
Oh,
hurt.
yeah.
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 But I also have to say, the least of my problems as a director was the actors. I mean, Lena, you are so professional and so mature, and you were what, 9 then?
I think I was turning 9.
Yeah, it was your birthday on
Yeah, it was
rehearsal.
my
Remember,
birthday.
I gave you a cupcake or something. But you were just so the actors were like the least worry. Everybody was on the job, and you know, I've worked with child actors before too, and Lena was a pro. I mean, amazing. And you grokked the story. You got the story. You got it, which is really great. So, and then Jenn, you just came in and saved the day. I mean, so,
Yeah.
you looked tired at the end.
That was, I'm not gonna lie, like, that was some of the hardest 48 hours. But worth it. At the end of that, it was sweet.
Yeah.
And when you look at the film, it's even sweeter.
Yeah.
All right, well, my next question was gonna be, what was the most fun? But it sounds like you've kind of answered all that, but anybody want to take that? What was the most fun? What would you sit there and say, okay, the reason why we had fun on this film was?
Well, for me, it was the acting. I mean, when we got to shoot, when we were just shooting, that's all we did. I don't think we were really worried so much about, because Karl had, you know, and Leland and everybody had everything set up, planned. We were just doing it, you know, and I think that was an enjoyable, I was really stressed you know, because I was wondering, you know, are we going to get this done and whatnot? And when it started to happen, it's like, oh my gosh, all right, let's let's do this. So yeah, I think for me it was the acting.
I mean, for me as a director, there's no higher buzz than being on set and watching it happen, watching these actors turn these characters into real people and just the energy and all that.
I agree. I think that, well, you know, once we got to set, even, you know, even day one, it was such a great time, and the beach was lovely. We were very lucky because it was the end of October and we had great weather. But it was that we had, you know, pre-production and getting to set was such a huge mountain to climb. But once we got there, like, we were really prepared. And so a lot of times, you know, when you're shooting, it's like you're putting out a lot of fires as you go. But we didn't really, I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, like, or maybe I'm just remembering the happy times, but it didn't seem like we really hit a lot of obstacles once we were shooting. And so there was that sort of time and space to really enjoy what we were doing.
I think we needed like one generator or something, or
Oh, the generator, Mike.
Oh,
Wow. Oh,
but that
yes.
was like nothing. I mean, that was not, you know, I mean, you figured it out.
Well, Leland found the generator. I went and got it. And
oh, I forgot about the generator. Yeah.
but it worked out. Thank God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's good.
Any, want to throw two cents in here? Let's hear from your perspective. How was the beach? Was the beach fun?
The beach was very fun to shoot on, and it made it better that you're shooting on my birthday, because it just made the whole process just so much fun. And then seeing everybody really connect with the story made it even better. I love it.
All right, great. Great. All right. I guess next I have to say is how does everybody define success in the indie film world? I mean, none of us are going to buy mansions based on the money that we're making from these movies. So what would you consider success? Like what would you say, okay, I'm successful as an indie filmmaker. What does that mean?
For me, it's getting that audience reaction, getting the film, getting the laughs where you want the laughs, getting the cries where you want the cries, seeing people go silent and engage in it, you know, and of course, getting into festivals is a huge boost. So, I mean, that's really the only remaining big screen opportunities now for most filmmakers is the film festivals. So a lot of our success is dependent on that, I would say.
100% agree with Karl. And also just for this in particular, and using this as an example, seeing the film when it's done, knowing what you started with and what transpired, and then to watch the final thing come together, especially when it's something like this where it really came together so beautifully, and it was so difficult to make, that when you see it and it's as good as it is, you are really like, you know what, I feel that it was such a rewarding experience, and you feel like it's a major success to have it come out as good as it did. So yeah. And then as Karl said, you know, hopefully like you can get people to see it, and that gets you another job, and that's also a success.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let me just, I want to say one thing. It's kind of a tricky thing, but as an independent filmmaker, you have to root for the people that you work with, even if they exceed where you are. I'm lucky enough to have worked with some fantastic actors in their very first jobs, directors. Just worked with a woman who's directing Penguin for HBO Max now. I shot her very first short film. So I see that I was part of their process and they're part of my process. And so seeing the whole process and be process oriented rather than results oriented is kind of how I look at filmmaking, and that community keeps moving forward and everybody gets their role in it.
Okay. Anybody else, or I guess I'll move on. Okay. I guess I'm basically done with the only other question I would have is if somebody came to you and said, hi, I want to be an indie filmmaker. what would you say to them? What would you be your, like, before you threw out Grok, which I don't know if you ever saw Holland Ellison give a talk. I once went to see a talk with him. And Grok, you said she Grok.
Grokking an idea, grokking a script, or grokking a character. Yeah.
And I went to go see him, and somebody said to him, how, should I be a writer? And the first things he said was like, no, go home, get a job at a gas station. You are no writer because you have no idea what a writer is. A writer writes because they have to write.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. If you're asking somebody else if you should be a writer, the answer is no, go home. So I'm just curious, what would you say if somebody came to you and said, I'm thinking about becoming an indie filmmaker? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Who wants to start?
Who wants to start? Somebody else.
Hey,
Jenn?
you giggled, so go ahead, you're up.
You're up.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I'm sure how to answer that. I would say, great. The thing is with the industry now, there's really a lot of ways you can make film. Like, 20 years ago, we didn't have all these options. It was sort of, no one could create content the way that they can now. And so I think it's great when people say that, but also I think there needs to be okay, what's your plan for that? Like, I think a lot of people go into things with just kind of without a plan and without an idea and without a goal. And I think those things are important really in anything that you do. And so as long as, you have an idea, and it doesn't necessarily need to be like one particular idea for a film. It's just like what you want to achieve as a filmmaker, what you want to say, where you want to end up, or what you want your path to be. Like, knowing those things is important. And the rest of it, I think, will fall into place if you align yourself with the right people.
I've answered this question in quite a few interviews, and basically what I say is there's nothing else I want to do.
Mhm.
And filmmaking for me is a discipline that brings together a lot of other disciplines, because I was in other arts before this, but filmmaking involves all the arts. And basically you got to have a lot of tenacity, but you certainly have to have some talent. That always helps. But just knowing that you're going to fail. You are going to fail. You're not going to make a living as an indie filmmaker, most likely. But you're going to fail. You got to have the tenacity. If you're a writer, director, you need story ideas, and you got to have a book of them. Because when I went to film school, a lot of us didn't have story ideas, and we just were taught, we thought it was fun to use the camera, make cool shots, but some of that comes with age, some of it, comes with a certain background, but you really, you just got to want it really bad. You got to want it really bad, and don't let anything discourage you. If you got to do something else to make a living, do that, figure out. Sometimes I think I should just work at a bank or something, so I don't have to use my creative mind for somebody else to figure out their shots for them, storyboard artists. And sometimes that exhausts me, but yeah, you just gotta want it, and you gotta keep at it, and you also have to self-assess, like, do I have a talent at this? You have to have a little ability to assess yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be Ed Wood. No filmmaker wants to be Ed Wood. I don't know if anybody are familiar with that.
They made a movie about him. So
yeah, with Johnny Depp. It's a great movie, but yeah.
So he had some success.
Yeah. Plan 9 from Outer Space, whatever movies he made.
So, hey, I'm going to jump in and give you my thoughts on that. And then I want to plug something, and I'll drop the link in the chat box. But I think what I tell students, because I do have occasions where I teach in main media and a couple other places, is have a good long-term goal. Like, I want to take this train all the way to Hollywood, but also have short-term goals. Well, I want to learn this in the next quarter, the next 4 months, 3 months. And with that skill, I can perhaps do this level of filmmaking. I mean, we all have smartphones in our pockets. We can all tell stories with images, but how far we want to take that and how complex a project might not be for everybody to do those Hollywood pictures with hundreds of people. Maybe you're more comfortable doing videos for telling stories for a smaller story, a smaller project, and that could turn into a career. You can be telling stories for corporate videos, for some kind of whatever, just for friends or for fun, or telling something from your heart.
And I just want to add just one little thing too, and I'm sure it's implied, but you got to enjoy what you do. You got to enjoy the process, because there's going to be times you make something and people may not like it.
Mm.
People may not show up. They may not even know you did something. And if you don't have that enjoyment for yourself of actually going through the process, doing the creating, you're going to have a very hard time in any industry, film, theater, whatever.
Agreed.
I want to
Yep.
hear from Lena. What's your take on it, Lena?
Somebody asks you, like, I think I want to become this or I want to become this. Definitely ask them, like, is this really what you want to do, or are you ready to get into this? Because whatever it is, and especially with acting, there's a lot of different branches and long processes that have to go with the film industry, just arts in general. So you have to make sure that this is what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right, great. I mean, does anybody want to say anything? I mean, I'm basically done with all my questions. Thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you for selecting the film. I mean,
Yeah, thank you so
every
much.
festival is
That was Lucy, but you're welcome. You're
okay.
welcome. She is
All
the
right.
curator.
Thank Lucy for us.
Yeah.
She's not going to make the festival. She's very pregnant. So
Oh,
she's,
wow.
and she lives in Paris, and she's like, I'm sorry, I'm not flying like this. It was like, okay. So she's not going to be there this year.
Those are good reasons to not be there.
Pretty good. Yes. All right. Thank you guys. And we'll see you all in June.
Great.
Awesome.
Looking
Thank
forward
you
to
so
it.
much.
Thank